YouTube, what is going on? It is your boy Sports Coach, and I am back with another video here today. And this video is going to be my first 7-round mock draft for the Buffalo Bills. And this is a team that I really do like making mock drafts on when I am not posting them. This is the team that's very, very close, and I feel like with their draft picks, where they are in this year's draft class, they could come out of here with some legit talent and some defensive starters on that D-line, cornerback, and maybe even safety room. I would like to, in this mock draft, maybe get another dynamic wide receiver in that room. I feel like they have a lot of great serviceable and solid wide receivers, especially after signing Josh Palmer. But if we could get someone that's explosive and offers some elite speed, would definitely like to add that to that wide receiver room. Defensively, though, I'm going to go aggressive for this Bills defense, especially at the safety, cornerback, and defensive line group. So without further ado, man, let's get right into this video. If you're intrigued or interested in more mock drafts for any NFL team or just mock drafts in general for this year's draft class, please consider subscribing. But let's get right into this video. So here we are, pick 30 for the Buffalo Bills. And with this pick, man, I'm going with Derek Carman. I feel like this team could definitely use someone like Derek Carman in the middle. Not saying they have a bad defensive line at all, because they have a very stout one with Ed Oliver, Gregory Rousseau, and Joey Bosa, who they did sign, but I mean, you don't know how healthy he's going to be. They have AJ Espinosa as a depth piece as well. But in that interior, they could definitely upgrade over Daquan Jones, who's older, at like 33, 34 years old. They could definitely look to upgrade over him. And Derek Carman is one of the better defensive linemen in this year's draft class. Easily a top 3, top 4 defensive lineman in the interior in this year's draft class. Has some elite pad level when he's playing. Plays super low to the ground. Has some punch or pop to his punch whenever he gets his hands on guys. Has an elite like lower body strength, so he's able to just completely drive into guys. Has a crazy rip move, which just gets him instant wins right into the backfield. 6'5", 310, has the height and weight you want from someone on the interior. And he had a phenomenal year this year. I know everybody talks about him having only one great year of production per se at the collegiate level, but it was an insane year for him. 5 sacks, 7 hits, and 43 hurries from the interior and 2 batted passes. I think he's going to be a stud at the next level, and especially if you add him on this defensive front like the Buffalo Bills with Gregory Rousseau, who's one of the better edges in this in the NFL. I meant to say, I was going to say in this year's draft class, but in the NFL, Joey Bosa and Ed Oliver, who I think's one of the better interior defensive linemen in this year. Why am I going to say in this year's draft class? In the NFL, I think Derek Carman could be a stud next to those two guys, and potentially a healthy Joey Bosa if he can stay healthy for a full year. So with this pick, we are going with Derek Carman, the defensive lineman from Oregon. So here we are at pick 56, and I was actually going to go with a cornerback like Azariah Thomas or Trey Amos, but both those guys did get drafted pretty early. Was going to make a trade up also as well, but I didn't, so it is what it is. I am going to go with the edge, and that is Braden Swinson from LSU. I think this team could definitely still use another edge rusher. I know they signed Joey Bosa, and they have AJ Espinosa as depth. But Gregory Rousseau, on his side, they could use some more depth as well. And let's say Joey Bosa can stay healthy, and AJ Espinosa is just solid, not really improving or not doing much more. Braden Swinson is a guy that could potentially be that starter on the other side of Gregory Rousseau. Now, he doesn't really fit that 4-3 defensive scheme, but I prefer him a lot more than a guy like Jack Sawyer, who's on this board, that probably fits a 4-3 defensive scheme a little bit more, and JT Tuamalaya. So with this pick, we're going to go with Braden Swinson, the edge from LSU, who I do really like a lot, man. Is a very good speed to power rusher, 6'4", 250. I would say the only thing he really needs to work on at the NFL level is holding the edge and stop taking these over aggressive angles when he is trying to stop the run. He really takes some bad angles. And even when he's trying to get to the quarterback, he takes some really over-aggressive angles and runs himself out of the play. That's really the biggest concern I see with him when I watch him play. But besides that, man, this year in 2024 had 9 sacks, 8 quarterback hits, 43 hurries, and 0 padded passes. Just feel like, this Buffalo Bills team, they could use another legit pass rusher on the other side of Gregory Rousseau. And I know they signed Joey Bosa to be that guy, but you really can't bank on Joey Bosa being healthy for this team to be a legit impactful, defensive player for this Bills team. So with this pick, we are going with Braden Swinson to hopefully be that starting edge on the other side of Gregory Rousseau for the next couple of years. So here we are at pick 62, and with this pick, I am going to go with Darian Porter, the cornerback from Iowa State. This Buffalo Bills team could use some more cornerbacks. I don't know if they are going to bring back Rasul Douglas. I know he's still a free agent. I think they should try to get him back for really cheap, because Rasul Douglas is a solid veteran, but I don't know what the Buffalo Bills are going to do with them. As of right now, they need more cornerbacks, and Darian Porter is a guy in this year's draft class who is maybe a little bit inexperienced in terms of snaps compared to some other guys at the cornerback position in this year's draft class. But he's 6'4", 200 pounds, is also a little bit older at 24 years old, but he has all the athleticism, the size, the traits you want from a cornerback one. This year in 2024 had an outstanding year, man. I mean, these are statistics that you get in my career in like NCAA when you're using a defensive back or a cornerback. Like he allowed 5 receptions on 17 targets for 70 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. And this is my favorite part: a passer rating of a 4.7, which is unheard of. Really, really extreme and elite numbers right there. Like I said, those are some like NCAA 25 football cornerback my career numbers right there. Like, I'm not playing. I got those similar stats when I was playing on my career mode on NCAA. This year had a 90.1 coverage grade. As a run defender, I like to see him definitely get better. He's a thin dude. I know I said he's 200 pounds, but he is way thinner than 200 pounds. On film, he is a really small and thin dude, and that's really why I have my biggest concerns with him at the next level. Is he has a smaller frame for the cornerback position. I worry if, especially in Buffalo where it gets really cold, if he gets hit hard one of these plays, especially in that cold weather, he could be out for a concussion or just for a stinger for a good amount of games because of his small frame. But had a 90.1 coverage grade this year, had a 29.4 completion rate, had a 63.5 man coverage grade, and had a 91.1 zone coverage grade. Just feel like with his height, his athleticism, his high upside, just feels like a perfect fit for Buffalo, considering the fact that they need some more talent in that cornerback room. So here we are at pick 109, and I was thinking I would have to trade up to get Andrew Mukuba for this team, but he actually fell to us right at pick 109. So with this pick, we are going with safety Andrew Mukuba from Texas, and I really do like this guy a lot. I have him as a top 3 safety, top 4 safety in this year's draft class, and this Buffalo Bills team could definitely upgrade over a guy like Taylor Rapp and Hamlin. I know they just brought back Damar Hamlin, but they could definitely upgrade over both those guys. I do like Cole Bishop a lot. I was a big Cole Bishop fan last year in last year's draft process. Still really do like him a lot. I think he has some solid athleticism and instinctual skills, but needs more playing time, and I definitely think he's going to play a lot more this year. But they could add some more guys into that safety room, and Andrew Mukuba is the guy who I think could be a franchise safety for one of these NFL teams. This guy plays at 110 miles per hour. Really good coverage safety, really good run defender, has great size, 6', 190, 22 years old, very young still. Like I said, I think he's a top 3, top 4 safety in this year's draft class. This year had a 90.0 PFF grade, played in 15 games, had 57 tackles, 20 assisted tackles, and 13 missed. Had a coverage grade of an 89.7, run defense grade of a 75.8, missed tackle rate of a 14.4, 26.1 forced completion rate, which is very elite. And this is a very solid stat for a safety that played a lot of his snaps back deep, had an average depth of run tackle with 5.8. So he's coming downhill, he's making tackles, and he's wrapping guys up. Allowed 10 receptions on 23 yards this year, and a passer rating of 12.1, man. Super, super elite. Allowed 0 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. I don't know why Andrew Mukuba is not being talked about a little bit more. Not to throw shade at anybody else, but like Nick Emanwari, he's a combine warrior, don't get me wrong, but man, I watched Nick Emanwari's film, and then I watched Andrew Mukuba's, and I don't know. I'm a huge fan of Andrew Mukuba's compared to Nick Emanwari's. I take Andrew Mukuba all day over Nick Emanwari. So with this pick, we are going with Andrew Mukuba to give this Bills team a starting safety for the future and for this defense. So with this pick, we are going with Andrew Mukuba, the Texas safety. So here we are at pick 132, and I was going to go with Savion Jones for this team or Zy Alexander just to get more cornerback depth for this team, but both those guys got taken. So we already go with Antoine Powell-Ryland, the edge from Virginia Tech. Maybe doesn't fit that 4-3 defensive scheme, but this team could use some more pass rushers. Like I said, they can't bank on Joey Bosa being healthy. AJ Espinosa is solid. He's okay, but you could definitely add some more talent and some more better depth into those rooms. And Antoine Powell-Ryland and Braden Swinson, who is the other guy I drafted earlier, are 2 guys that have a lot of juice from the edge in terms of speed to power. Very good hand fighting as well. I really do like Antoine Powell-Ryland a lot for a lot of teams that have needs at the edge position. I think he's more of a third down specialist because of his size at 6'3", 252 pounds, and being 23, a little bit older. But I think he's more of a third down specialist. I don't think he's a guy who could really play every down. especially stopping the run. But as a pass rusher, as somebody that comes in on third down to get after the quarterback, I think he's more than capable of doing that at the NFL level. Had 14 sacks this year, 9 quarterback hits, 25 hurries. The previous year, 10 sacks, 10 quarterback hits, and 28 hurries. So very productive back-to-back years. Had a 16.9 pass rush win rate this year. Had a 82.9 true pass set pass rush grade. And had an 85.2 pass rush grade this year. So with this pick, we are going to go with Antoine Ryland to give some more edge help and more edge talent for the Buffalo Bills on that unit. So here we are at pick 168 or 169 for the Buffalo Bills, I meant to say. And with this pick, we're going to go with Cody Simon, the linebacker from Ohio State. Matt Milano, Terrell Bernard are the starting linebackers for this team, and they are very good ones. But besides that, I'm not a Buffalo Bills fan. I'm not too familiar with anybody besides that or the depth after those two guys. So in my personal opinion, I feel like we could get more talent behind those two guys. And Cody Simon's a guy I really do like in the 5th round. For any team that just needs more linebacker depth, he's a very solid tackler, solid processor of the game. I feel like he gets off block sheds very well, is always coming downhill. I feel like he plays in a very good speed. In terms of coverage and putting him out in space, he's not a guy that I feel comfortable doing that, but he's a guy that could just come in, be depth if a guy like Matt Milano or Terrell Bernard gets hurt. This year in 2024, had 67 tackles, 33 assisted tackles, and 13 missed. Had a 80.6 pass rush grade, had a 90.8 run defense grade, had a 72.7 coverage grade, and had an average depth of run tackle of a 3.2, which is super elite. You want to see that at least below 4 for any linebacker that you're looking at. If it's higher than that, then you have some question marks about that guy as a run defender. Missed tackle rate 11.5, so very solid. Allowed 37 receptions on 43 targets for a completion rate of 86.0, and allowed 1 touchdown this year and 0 interceptions. Like I said, I don't think he's a coverage linebacker. I wouldn't feel too comfortable putting him out in space, but as a guy that could just go downhill, make tackles, wrap up, I think he's a very solid he's a very solid linebacker at that. So with this pick, we are going with Cody Simon just to give this Bills team more depth behind Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard. So here we are, pick 170. And we're going to go Denzel Burke, the cornerback from Ohio State. I wanted to get another cornerback earlier, like a Noah Williams for this team, but he got drafted super early, so it is what it is. We are going to go with Denzel Burke, who I think could be a really good dead piece for an NFL team, especially one that plays a lot of zone coverage. I don't like Denzel Burke's speed, long speed, or anything like that, recovery speed. I think in zone coverage, when he's able to keep the play in front of him at the NFL level, he could be serviceable and help an NFL team. But if he has to play man coverage, use his speed, his long speed down the field, I think that's where he's going to have a lot of trouble. 6'1", 193 pounds, still very young at 22 years old. This year in 2024, allowed 34 receptions on 47 targets for 413 yards, 2 touchdowns, and had 2 interceptions, and a pass rating of a 95.4. The previous year, which was definitely a better year for him, allowed 25 receptions on 48 targets for 277 yards, 1 touchdown, and had an interception, and a passer rating of a 67.8. So definitely had a better year in 2023, but just feel like this Buffalo Bills team could use more depth at the cornerback position. And I feel like Denzel Burke is a very solid depth piece later on in the rounds for any NFL team that just needs more depth, especially one that plays a lot of zone coverage like the Buffalo Bills. So with this pick, we are going with Denzel Burke, the cornerback from Ohio State. All right, so I did trade down just a little bit. I wouldn't say just a little bit. We did trade down almost 20 picks with the Cleveland Browns. We're giving them 173. In return, we're getting picks 192 and 216. Just to get another draft pick, we have another pick at 177. And I don't feel like there's really no point in reaching from this pick right here, especially because we have another pick in literally 4 picks. So just a simple trade back to get another draft pick for this team just to get some more overall depth. So here we are at 192, and with this pick, we are going to go with Ty Felton, the wide receiver from Maryland. I really do like Ty Felton a lot in the later rounds. He's somebody who I think could potentially be a steal for one of these NFL teams. 6'2", 186 pounds, 22 years old. He's still very young. This year in 2024, played in 12 games, had 96 receptions on 143 targets, 4,119 yards, 11.7 yards slash receptions, and 9 touchdowns. Like I said, I think this Buffalo Bills wide receiver core is very solid. I think it's a very deep and solid wide receiver core, but I don't think there's a like superstar or an elite talent at this wide receiver core or just in this room. You could definitely add some more talent overall, and I think Ty Felton is a guy that has some talent and some ability to be a better player at the NFL level. He has some more developing to do in terms of route running in terms of just setting guys up when he's running routes. And I just feel like, with his athleticism, with his size, for a guy that's 6'2", definitely has a lot more developing and a lot more unlocking at the NFL level. So with this pick, we're going Ty Falton just to get some more talent in that wide receiver room for the Buffalo Bills. All right, so at pick 206 right here, I'm going to double down at wide receiver. I'm going to go with Bztakes, the wide receiver from Florida. 6'1", 200 pounds. The dude ran like a 4'3", something at the combine. Had one of the better showings at the combine this year. Let me look at his height. Yeah, 6'1", 200 pounds basically. This year, had 42 receptions on 65 targets for 783 yards and 18.6 yards/receptions and 2 touchdowns. Just getting him more for his speed could be a possible deep threat for this football team. Like I said, I think this is a very deep and talented wide receiver core for the Buffalo Bills, but they could definitely add another guy or just some more talent overall into this room. And Bztakes and Ty Falton might not be super high valuable names at the wide receiver position in this year's draft class, but I think these are two guys that have a lot of athleticism, have size, and are still pretty young to develop and get better as wide receivers in the NFL level. So with this pick, we are going Bztakes for the Buffalo Bills at pick 206. And so to wrap up the final pick for the mock draft for the Buffalo Bills, we're going to go with R.J. Mickens, the safety from Clemson. I really do like R.J. Mickens a lot in the later rounds. He's a very good coverage safety. As a tackler, I think he could get better, but as a coverage safety, I think he's very, very stout. 6 foot, 210 pounds. Let's say Cole Bishop isn't the guy at the safety position going forward, and the Buffalo Bills decide to move on from Taylor Rapp and Damar Hamlin after this season. Then you'll have a future of R.J. Mickens and Andrew Mukuba at the safety position, and I think that's a very solid tandem. This year in 2024, R.J. Mickens played in 13 games, had 55 tackles, 18 assisted, and 11 missed. Played a little bit in the box, played a little bit back deep, gives you versatility in both areas. Had a 89.8 coverage grade, had a 69.2 run defense grade, and had a forced incompletion rate of a 24.1. Allowed 21 receptions on 29 targets for a pass rating of 59.6. Had 7 forced incompletions and allowed 1 touchdown and had 2 interceptions. So with this pick, we are going with R.J. Mickens, the safety from Clemson. So here is what PFF has graded my mock draft. With our first pick, we win Derek Carman. I feel like you put him next to Ed Oliver, Gregory Rousseau, a healthy Joey Bosa. That is a very disruptive front four, one of the better ones on paper. Next pick, we win Braden Swinson. That's an A right there. Maybe is not a 4-3 defensive end, but I love this guy. Speed to power as an edge rusher, and just speed in general off the edge. Could be a very good fit for this Buffalo Bills team, especially if Joey Bosa doesn't really stay healthy. Darren Porter was our next pick for this Bills team. They need a cornerback, and this guy has one of the highest ceilings at the cornerback position in this year's draft class. Andrew Mukuba, I think, is a top 3, top 4 safety in this year's draft class. I prefer him a lot more than Nick Emanwari, and the Bills got him in round 4, and he could be the franchise safety going forward for this team. Antoine Powell-Ryland, just another depth piece at the edge position. I really think this guy has some juice, though, from the edge. Cody Simon was just our next pick to get more depth at the linebacker position behind Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard, who I think are both very, very good linebackers. Denzel Burke was just more depth at the cornerback position room. This is somebody who last year had way higher draft projection, but had a down year this year. You're banking on him going back to that 2023 form. And if he does, I mean, you're talking about a solid, serviceable cornerback that has great height at the NFL level. Tonka Hemingway, got to see right there for that. Just more defensive line help for this team. Ty Falton, got a D right there for that. I like Ty Falton a lot. I think this team could definitely add some more talent, and I think Ty Falton is a talented and athletic guy. Bztakes was another wide receiver I added for this team just for more depth. Very athletic as well. And then R.J. Mickens was to finish off this draft for this team. Overall, we got a B+. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about this mock draft. I think it's a very solid one. I think these top 5 picks right here are home run hitters for the Buffalo Bills. And I feel like in this year's draft class, they could definitely look to add a wide receiver early on in these first 4 rounds to get a legit talent in there. But I think the Buffalo Bills, man, should go in this year's draft class and go very aggressive and go all out on that defensive side of the ball. So let me know what you guys think in the comments about this mock draft. It's been your boy, Sports Culture. I'm out.